Ladies, gentlemen, gamers, and fellow Amazon show lovers, welcome back to another review. This time for Invincible Season 2. So it's almost 1 a.m. I was disassociating for a moment, and I thought there was no better time to record this than now. So let's just get into it. The first thing I have to say about Invincible Season 2 is wow. Just wow. After coming hot off the heels of watching and knowing some of Amazon's other shows recently, like Gen V, which I reviewed and it's out on YouTube, The Boys, Invincible Season 1, and whatever the fuck else there was a lot of hype for me going and watching Season 2. I was waiting for it, I was really excited. I thought it was gonna blow my socks off, just like Season 1 did. I actually don't remember if I reviewed Season 1. I might have. You guys should definitely check my YouTube to make sure. But anyway, excuse me. Whew. There's a couple of things that I do want to touch on. Some of these things are with the show itself, but there's also something that's unrelated to anything that happens in the show directly. But it's something that's becoming more commonplace in the industry, and it's something that unfortunately Invincible Season 2 has come with. And we'll get into that later. I don't want to spoil the surprise just yet, but I'll talk about that a little bit at the end. So, let's just get into the show itself. I think that overall the show was aight, but it wasn't aight, if I'm being really honest. Watching this part of the season, and I swear I'll get to more on what that means later on, I really feel like all of Invincible Season 2 that I just watched almost should have been a sort of side special series, and it wasn't actually Season 2. So, even comparing this to the Adam Eve special prequel thing that came out beforehand, but after Season 1, I think that Adam Eve special does everything that Season 2 of Invincible does, but better, especially with the fight scenes. Like, Jesus Christ, Holy Mother Mary, was the Adam Eve fight scene extremely, extremely amazing. Like, I don't want to review it because it's very short. It's only one episode, but I honestly enjoyed that more than all of Invincible Season 2 that I just saw. And by just saw, I mean I saw it like a week ago. I've been pretty lazy with uploading stuff recently, but again, I'm disassociating. But I'm actually here. So anyway, coming off the amazing climax of Season 1, I was left wondering a lot of things. What the fuck is gonna happen now? What's gonna go on with Viltrum? Is Mark okay? What's gonna happen to Omni-Man? How are people gonna react in the city? Is the city gonna be okay? Etc. etc. Now, I'm gonna pepper in some very light spoilers. Obviously, if you haven't seen Season 1, I just kind of, excuse me, I didn't really spoil it, but I'm gonna touch on stuff from Season 1, so at least see Season 1. That's all fair game. But for Season 2, I'm gonna include very, very light peppering spoilers. So, I had a lot of questions coming off Season 1. I think everyone did. Everyone was very excited. And this is where they started Season 2 off in a really, really strong way with a very big twist on things. And the problem is, they just go not really forward with it. This twist and every other question from Season 1 eventually gets answered, but it gets answered in the most wet fart, flop on the ground, face first in the dirt way possible. It's like they didn't even try sometimes, but all the stuff in the season that happens, aside from the bare ass end of it, doesn't really matter. It wasn't really that interesting, and it really just felt like it was filler. Just to touch up a sort of, some close out some loose ends from season one, kind of show a little story here, a little story there. But it wasn't that good. It was all just like, again, filler stuff. More than anything, this felt like an epilogue to season one, where if season one did end, this would be like the couple extra episodes kind of to just tie it out before a big thing occurs after this. So, one of the exceptions, one of the few good things of the arc, or not of the arc, sorry, of the whole season, was the Mauler twins. I actually love how much screen time they got, and their little story was really cool with what they were doing. And it kind of ties into the twist in the beginning, which I can't really spoil, but it was a really cool thing to see and to kind of know how oh, this is what could have happened. It's almost like a what if sort of thing, but it was really cool to see. Now, all the characters that they show, besides three characters, which is Mark, his mom Debbie, and Adam Eve, almost have zero character development. Every other character, basically nothing changes with them as the whole series goes forward. And the three people I just did mention, Mark, Debbie, and Eve, they almost have very little character development too. Even though there's some there, I have to give some like very sparingly because it's very close to nothing. But everyone else basically had no character development. Nada. Zilch. So, like I said before, there's some side plots going on away from just Mark's. It's not just, the Invincible story around Invincible. It does also go to the other characters in the show. And, there's these moments where the main plot, Mark's plot, gets somewhat interesting, and some of the side ones start to get interesting. But the problem is, it's all surface level, where it doesn't go anywhere, or it ends extremely quickly, or most likely, what always ends up happening, which ends up pissing me off, is it's a setup for something down the line, which we'll touch on later, like I keep saying. It's like there's so many small things that happened that could have been fleshed out, that could have went on for more, but they just weren't, and it left me wanting, and I really wanted to see more, but it left me wanting too much and too often, to where it was a detriment. It's like, okay, cool, they're introducing these three things, these three plot points, and they're either getting solved instantly, or it's like, oh, well, we're just gonna leave this here and it's gonna come back later, but not anytime soon. And it's like, come on. I don't want to get into spoilers, but there's these interpersonal relationships between the characters that occur, especially in the Super League. Sometimes with the Immortal and sometimes with the Splosion Fucker Rex, right? There's some with Cecil and there's some with a lot of other characters that I don't want to reveal. But it's something I really want to see them go more into, especially with the characters and how they interact and stuff. But they just either tease it to us or they just never give us an answer. Like, oh, we'll get to it later. It's so frustrating, I swear to God, it really is. It was one of the major things I kept getting annoyed at. Anytime anything might go deeper, it just doesn't, and it upset me. So the best way I could describe this whole season, if I had to like lump it up together, is just lackluster. I came into it very happy, very hyped, very excited, almost with a gigantic stiffy, and I wanted a lot. And from what I got, it basically felt like I got a bland Krabby Patty. It wasn't a nasty patty, because objectively speaking, it's not bad what we got. It's not terrible. It's just not what we expected, and it really isn't anything. It's like a nothing burger that's just incomplete. It's regular. It's not really anything crazy or cool. It's not even a whole burger either. I would say it's maybe even half of a nothing burger. It's ridiculous. This should have really just been an interlude into season 2. Now again, was it that bad? No, it was not. The ending was actually pretty decent. But again, even the ending with the big fight towards the end of the season, you know, it was in comparison not as good as season one's. It was very short, and the Adam and Eve fight was the best fight so far. It's like, what the hell? The big reveal and revelation at the end was also pretty okay. It's, again, not as crazy as season one. It's not bad though, but aside from the very, very end, which was, I don't even want to say redeemable, it was just okay. It was like sprinkles on the bland like cake we got. There's not much memorable stuff about the season at all, besides the few little interesting side stories like the one with the Mauler twins. Aside from that, I'm trying to remember, most of the villains are there as jokes or as idiots to be like, oh, like, here's this villain you might have forgot about, or here's this cameo from Adam and Eve, the one episode special. And it's like, it doesn't matter. These things don't matter. It really just feels like just all set up. It's so stupid. But anyway, now to finally get to the big issue that I've been saying we're going to talk about, and I'm finally going to reveal it. The issue is the show was split into two parts for the season. There's season 2 part 1 and then season 2 part 2. Now, this might turn into a big rant about society at large and capitalism and corporate greed and whatnot amongst the big companies. I'll try my best not to get into it because that's what my TikTok series is for, but we'll see how far I go. Excuse me. Oh. Anyway, I hope at the same time that this is and isn't the case. right? That the season was split up into two parts because of some reasons, right? Some of them are good, some of them are bad. So if the entire thing is just leading to the second half of season two, then please to dear God, let the first part just be like set up. Let it be set up so that way the second half can knock it out of the park just like season one. Excuse me. Granted, season one had a lot of setup too, but even season one had, the big reveal at the end of episode one where Omni Man went, goddamn ballistic gorilla. But season two didn't have anything of that. But it makes sense. Season one, you have to introduce stuff, and season one, at least for the first half, wasn't crazy. But I barely remember season two, and I've watched it recently. But the other half, right? The other half better hit it out of the park if the first part was just for setup. And I'm so annoyed and upset that these shows come out this way because most of the time they have the second part done. They just don't want to release it because they want to extend the hype artificially, which is the opposite, and it's the far opposite of that, of what Netflix does, which is they give you everything all at once. But the problem is the show dies down really quickly in terms of discussion, in terms of hype, as opposed to weekly releases. So not only do I think that splitting the season is the far opposite of what Netflix does because they're artificially extending it when they have it done, but I think it's getting even worse since with Invincible Season 2 Part 1, it legitimately feels like it's an intro to the actual Season 2, which we're getting God knows when. They said early 2024, but it's still not even announced when that might be. So either Season 2 Part 1 was either just set up for the second half, or the second half is as ass as the first part. And it's like, I don't know. Now I'm scared because if this was the first half of season two, it ain't looking good. I'm really, really hoping they're saving all the payoff, not for season three, part one, or God forbid, part two, but it's for actual season two, part two. I really hope that's the case, and it's not the first option, I hope it's the first option where, it's all set up, and it's not the second option where it's just straight ass, where they fucked it up. I don't know. But either way, to sort of wrap up my opinions, I think season two was a pretty big letdown, unfortunately, and I hate to say that because I really did like the show. Looking at it on its own, which it's very hard to do after season one, I think it's a little below average. Barely anything of importance really happens that's really cool or interesting until the very, very end, and then all the stuff that's interesting that it's either resolved or just, saved for later. And it's very obvious that it's gonna come back later. It's not a thing that's open ended, like, I wonder what can happen here. It's like, oh no, this person is coming, or oh no, this person has this big thing they just stole and they're gonna use, but they're not using it now. So I wonder if they're ever gonna come back, where it's obvious they're gonna come back. It's obvious. Like, oh my god, it happens so many times. But anyway, that's the majority of all there really is. Many characters, specifically Debbie, but there's others too, are sitting there and they're trying to move on from the events that happened in season one. And it almost seems like they want to get through their character development. Like they're just on the cusp of having some revelation and going through some major change or, some actual progression. But the creators are making them wait until the second half, I hope, of season two. It's so stupid. It's dumb. I'm upset and I'm let down. If I had to rate this whole, season two, part one bullshit, I would honestly probably rate it, I'm going to say a 3.5 Omnis out of 10. 5 is always my neutral. If it's 5, it's whatever. I didn't hate it, I didn't like it. It was okay. I would say I'm more neutral, like, I saw it because I was there. I wasn't too gripped in. I think this is a 3.5 only because I'm comparing it to season 1. If I saw this on my own, I'd probably be a little bored. The biggest thing for me was I was waiting for like the big events, like, oh, where's Omni-Man? Where's this? Where's that? What's gonna happen? And some interesting stuff, again, gets introduced, but it's never fully fleshed out. Except for a couple of the things like the Mauler twins arc, which was, I guess, resolved, but that also opened itself up to, a whole new arc later in the future potentially occurring. It's like, it's the same shit. It's like, when is it gonna end? Or when are we gonna get something actually good? It's really annoying. Anyway, I'm not going to harp on it anymore just because I can go on forever. I'm just going to go be upset about it and keep disassociating. I might even be going live on Twitch TV Tecnics channel soon. I don't know. Or I might just think about the worsening state of the world and my life and God knows what else. But anyway, it's going to be live at Twitch TV Tecnics channel if it is after this, into the wee hours of the night. If not, I hope that everyone enjoyed. If there's anything else you guys want me to watch and review, please let me know.